changing people every day now. Hey, we got the strength but no foundation. They got the mind but no solution. Say, how do we earn our bread?
That's Changing People by Akila Barrett, son and nephew of the Barrett brothers, members of the original Wailers band. It's time for the Diaspora Junction with Donovan and Trisha.
Yeah, things and time, changing people every day now.
Changing people every day. I'm going to have to change the mindset of Trisha because last week, the young lady called me and she was laughing at me because I was singing so well, and I don't know why she think it was funny, but nonetheless, Trisha is kind of following her foot. I think they're friends, but nonetheless, ladies and gentlemen, Trisha, good evening to you. How are you doing today?
Good evening, Donovan Longmore. Good evening, good morning, good afternoon, good night.
And good night,
to
yes.
all your listeners.
Yes. And also send shout out to those in South Africa too. So they're there, tuning in. So we got to give people credit where credit is due. Now, we always have a special guest on the air. So, Trish, I'll let you do the honors. And we also have Step Back Saturday for the people. Each and every week, ladies and gentlemen, we start this thing by where we, just give you a little tidbits of what happened when we were younger growing up and what it used to be like in Jamaica. And then we talk about events and, things that makes people do things better for the community. And we bring that to you each and every week so you can understand what's going on. So, Trisha, take it away.
Hey, thank you. So this evening, this moment, because it depends on where you are, we have Miss Ashley Clarke. So we'll formally introduce her after Step Back Saturday. Miss Clarke is going to introduce the Step Back Saturday topic. Welcome, Ashley Clarke.
Welcome, Ashley.
Thank you, Miss Cara. Thank you, Mr. Longmore, for having me. So for today on Step Back Saturday, I want to bring up a topic that all our elders across Jamaica still talk about. And I hear it when my grandma, she always say, back when our village used to raise a child. Mm-hmm. And I know when you hear that, you're going to hear about the consequences, because for sure you're going to hear Miss Betty's going to tell your mother, your parents what you are doing. And you know when you go in, the belt are going to reach you before you step in the house. So, today, I just want to talk about back in the days when the village used to raise a child. And you can hear me say back in the days like I was back in the days, but I'm 19. But yes, I was back in the days when the village used to raise a child. When society was the society where anybody could carry a child and it was okay. But no, that's not how society is. Society is I only speak to my child. Mm-hmm. Even teachers are having it. Don't touch my child, I'll touch her. So yeah, when I village used to raise a child, I think society was a better society. We had less violence to an extent, more respect for elders, respect for general everybody.
I agree. Yes. And the reason why I laugh, Trisha and Miss Carr, I remember the belt part when I was growing up. Trisha brought up a good subject last week when we talk about, it's not that the student is, slow in learning. Sometimes they need some stimulation. And, the teacher used to come in my head to make me do better in English. And you talk about the belt there, Miss Carr, and it's like, wow. I remember those days, no matter what you do, one thing you can't do, you cannot fool mommy and daddy, Remember, they are your parents, so they know what you did or have done before, you even tell them. And sometimes you go home and you say, oh, mommy and daddy is so nice or whatever. But all of a sudden you just, feel the recognition of a belt or something like that. But that's a good one.
Again, to the point, it was consequence. Mm-hmm. We knew that whatever form it took, whether it is you're going to your bed early, whether it is you're going to have to clean the yard, whether it is you're going to have to do a chore you never did, whether it was the belt, whether it was the look. Remember the look?
Oh, God. Especially in a church.
They just looked at us, man. We got in line.
Listen, Ashley, when we did in a church, mommy and daddy never said nothing to her, All she do is look, and that eyes and the body posture. That's all. Yeah. That's it. Say no more.
Something burning on your skin. Just a look. So it was always about, at the end of the day, consequence. Consequence.
That's so true. And of course,
raising the child represent.
Yes. Yes, and she made a good point by saying,
it's actually representing coincidence.
Yeah, well, she said, remember how the village could raise a child. Nowadays, backside,
yes.
You have to run with because, them are picking nowadays, different breed. And it's sad because it's what they see and learn. We always talk about that, me and Trisha. So, good point, young lady. Good point, Miss Carr. We appreciate that.
Thank you for that, Madam Ashley. And to formally introduce Ashley Clarke, as she said, she is a 19-year-old. She's currently a university student. She's a youth Sunday school teacher. She's a co-head of every Mikkle Foundation Business Development Committee. She's a youth development officer. And she's also the president of Kiddies Krossover. Welcome. And to you, Ms. Clarke, as a active member in youth development, being a youth yourself, based on your experiences, what is the mindset of students or young people within the inner city? What's your observation?
Based on my observation, I think sometimes we speak of the mindset of inner city students or youth. We speak on it on a general angle when it's not general, because not all inner city young people are the same. And I say this because you have the very few inner city young people like myself who are focused. They focus on their education, on our goals. In a sense, they have the hustler mentality, if we want to put it in a Jamaican terms, where they're saying, I'm going to do this for myself, for my grandma, for my mother, for my family, for whoever simply raised them. However, we have the other side where most inner city young people have what we call the revenge mentality, where they're doing this to prove that, listen, I'm better than you in all aspects.
Yes.
And initially, these young people have high hopes. They're not always like this. They had high hopes, but then they realize that their hopes are not easily attained. Okay, I want to become a footballer, but then they realize, listen, they have to go training 5 o'clock in the morning. They have to get up early and they have to do the work. They don't want to do the work. So when they realize this, they become disappointed themselves and they look at themselves as survival. So my dream is no longer going to work out. So I'm going to get the easy money, whatever way out. And I think this is why, as a society, we are in this dunce, sinner, or dark culture that is penetrated by dancehall. And this speaks of the mindset not only of inner city person, but of Jamaica at large. Because everyone is on the same mindset. Okay, we're dunce, we are sinner, we are dark. But at the end of the day, I think the mindset is not only now within the inner city, but generally.
Mm.
And you are very correct. But if I may say, I know that Ashley is not necessarily going to say it, but when she talks about being focused and being a student of the inner city, being a product of the inner city, well, we've heard of her titles, and she does have more. We just have to limit it. But Ashley has sitting under her belt 14 CSEC subjects and 8 CAPE subjects, and currently a university student. So she's speaking from the perspective of her experience and her interaction with the children who are feeling hopeless. And it's a voice that I think that we all needed to hear, because she's coming from the both spaces, living it every day. How do you see changing the mindset impacting the lives of these young persons who are feeling hopeless?
I think generally when we think of changing the mindset, we think of our own self. But I think as inner city persons, we need good role models. Not role models who can give a fancy encouragement speech. Oh, let the lion within you rise up. No, they don't need that. They've been hearing that at school, everywhere. They need a role model that they've been through the trouble, they've been through the fight, they've been through the pain, and can tell them that, listen, I was hungry once, but they wally like a G, and this is how I overcome it. They don't need someone to come to them and just tell them the pretty story because this person did not grow up in a similar situation. They need someone who's grown up in the situation and been through the issues and say, okay, this is how I did this is how I did it, and I suggest you can do this, you can do this. Because like Miss Carol would always say, we need to meet them where they're at. Mm-hmm. You can't meet them where you hope for them to be. And I think this is why persons gravitate to dancehall, because that's as a prime example of meeting people where they're at. If you're feeling down, you can listen to maybe, they say chronic law. If you're feeling a little hopeless, you listen to this person. Because this is how they're at dancehall speaks a real life situation. But when you're encouraging someone, you're speaking to a fantasy situation, it will be okay. How will it be okay? How am I going to overcome this? So to change their mindset, simply we need to meet people where they're at and not where we hope for them to be, because they're not going to hear anything that you're saying to them.
Wow. Now, Ashley, I want to add something to that. Earlier on, I spoke with a 16-year-old young lady, and she made a very good point, something similar to this point where we're talking about. And I asked her the question, what would she, as a 16-year-old bright young lady, would like to see change in Jamaica? And her answer was poverty, in terms of children in school poverty. Because, I understand you're hungry, you can't learn. But she went deeper by saying, listen, it's not just the hunger part alone. Opportunities need to be there. And like you just said, a role model needs to be there. And for a 16-year-old, I was very impressed with that mindset. And like you just said, the mindset needs to be changed. And yes, these young men and women, not all of them are doing bad, but the ones that are doing the bad things are the ones getting the highlight. And like you said, you're right.
Yes.
They run to the the chronic law, the massacre, the artists them who are putting out the song out there. Me and Trisha talked about Valiant last week. The dunce check culture is out there, where you see people wearing the bags now, and it's like an in thing, the fad, and people just start to follow these things, and the younger generations are just grasping it, and because they are so plentiful, it seems like that's what's going on. That's the in thing. Like you said, you being a 19-year-old and as bright as you are, it's a hard subject to deal with, and of course, again, Ashley, things starts from the home. Me and Trisha always reiterate that everything has to start from home. And if parents are more responsible, we'll have a better society.
Yes.
And so your point about changing the mindset, referring to your Step Back Saturday contribution, which is a village raising a child. We have heard repeatedly, we have heard of several programs over the years, whether they were actually implemented or not. But, you hear of different programs for at-risk youth that are designed to engage and inspire inner city youth. Based on your experience with the various entities and organizations that you are involved in and have been involved with, what has been your recommendation to persons you have worked with, or just what would be your recommendation to anybody who is listening, who is working with inner city youth, at-risk youth, children who are feeling hopeless? What would be your recommendation to improve the programs that are being offered?
I actually had a conversation about this the other day. As I stated earlier, my advice is to meet with the young people where they're at. Youth groups, schools, organizations. Sometimes we have our goals that we need to meet in a specific timeline. However, you can't meet a goal in a specific timeline. If you're teaching a grade 6 student who is at a kindergarten level, the grade 6 student will never reach where you want them to reach. And at that point, you have to meet that grade 6 student where they're at. And I'm not saying to lower the standard for that one student, because the class must go on. However, we can't have a grade 6 student reading at a kindergarten level and then allowing this grade 6 student to graduate from grade 6, going to high school, and it's going to keep happening over and over and over again. So as I stated before, meeting them where they're at. Okay, John, you're not as fast as the class. Let us meet after school, and I'm going to take you from the basics, come right back up. Because if we don't do this, then they're not going to understand what's happening in class, what's happening around them. And no, this child is going to feel done under rest, in a sense. And this child is going to, this is going to be the very same child who's going to eventually turn our society into havoc.
Yes. Because
the child doesn't see their possibilities. Because if everyone can spell cat and I can't spell cat, I'm considering myself as dumb. I'm belittling myself So my only outcome in my mind is to go and pick up the negative thing that's going to bring me wealth, because education can't do it for me. So if we meet young people where they're at, then they can see what their possible outcomes are. So listen, you can take the positive or the negative, but I'm going to help you to go towards a positive. If you don't want it, then this is your bad, but I'm meeting you where you're at and bringing you at a level where you can sustain yourself. In a sense, I'm teaching you to fish and not giving you the fish. Because if I give you the fish, when I'm gone, you're going back to the same level.
So true.
So basically, one of the challenges that you have found is that children who are of a, for conversation's sake, a grade 6 age, they are operating at a grade 2 level, but they're being engaged in grade 6 education level.
Yes. And it goes right across the board for even high school. Because if we look at it, our literacy rate in Jamaica is very low. And for a country that is producing over 1,000, with our schools graduating 1,000 persons with 100% passes from schools, it is bad. Why are we graduating persons who can't read? We need to meet them at their level. Okay, stay back another year, brother. Stay back another year, and let us take you somewhere. Because you're graduating from school without a skill, without education. What's going to happen to our society? This is the very same person going to reap havoc in our society, and then we're going to say, oh, John Tom did bad from day one, when we never took a chance on John Tom.
Good point.
So the systems that are in place, the programs that are in place, can be more effective, is what you're saying. If it may take more resources, but taking the resources today to be more impactful and more effective will help with a better society for tomorrow, rather than then taking the resources to do the investigations, to do the crime interventions, which, which were the crime rate is, so let's move on past that, to take the resources today, spend the time today to meet them where they are today, rather than having our JDF officers and our JCF, the JCF going for them and using the resources then. Is basically what you're saying. Meet them where they are today, rather than meeting them where they're going to be tomorrow, and then you're having the funeral parlor also involved.
Yes. Eventually costs a lot more.
It does. Because innocent lives get lost in the process. And I do hope that those who are involved in these programs are hearing you. I know sometimes when you're a young person, you're not heard. So hope, because it is extremely concerning. We're seeing the images, as Donovan said, it's the ones who are doing the wrong that are getting the platform. And we really do need to see a change. So I really do hope that the powers that be are taking heed. Mr. Longmore?
That is so true. And of course, Ashley, my God, for a 19-year-old, you're deep. You go way back. Especially when you talk about how, raising the child, the village raising the child. I'm like, you would figure that come from an adult to somebody like a grandparent or something like that. But that's great for you to have the past and know the future and the present, because these young men and women, I think part of the problem is the fact that they are losing culture and heritage. Me and Trisha talk about this all the time. They're being raised by, the television and the social medias and things that they see in school from friends and peer pressure and all that. So we are not, doing everything we ought to do. And like you said, we need to meet them where they're at. And I always ask the question, are we really listening to our children? And these are things that we need to pay special attention to, because like Trisha mentioned last week, it's not that they're quote unquote dunce. Is the fact that you have to have that individual or individuals give them that special time where he or she can learn, because they will learn. I mean, they have a brain and a mind, and they will learn. It's just that some kids are slower than others, and maybe actually you might have a special program that they can go in and stuff like that. But thank you for the insight and all the great things that you're doing. Now, Ashley, before you go, your foundation, information on it in terms of, social media where they can find you, need you, reach you and all that good stuff. And then Trisha will wrap it up.
Okay, so I'm a part of multiple foundations. However, there is the Every Mikkle Foundation where you can go online, Google, Safari, everymikklefoundation.org, and you can search them up. They work with children homes within Jamaica to help persons within the system have a better life, and in a sense, meeting them where they are at, as well as the Kiddies Krossover Foundation, which does not have a website. However, if you're interested, they contact me personally. And they deal with inner city young people on a whole, teaching that education is important, having back to school drive, Christmas drive, and all the work. So I'm a bit of everywhere, to be fair. However, I think it made me who I am today, as well as to give this talk, meeting people where they're at, because I had to be met where I am at. And young people across the board, even our adults, to be fair, need to be met where they're at as well.
Nice. And before we go, people listening, Mikkle is spelled Mikkle. That's Mikkle. And of course, she talked about Kiddies Krossover. It's Kiddies Krossover. Just want to reiterate that in case they're going to be looking for it online. All right, Trisha, you have the pleasure of wrapping us up and taking us away. I'm not going to sing.
Thank you. No, don't. We really appreciate that thoughtfulness. Ashley, I thank you for your contribution. Again, another valuable contribution from a young person. And important to both Donovan and I is that the young persons have the opportunity to voice their thoughts, their feelings, and their suggestions. I am Trisha Carraro. I wear many hats: author, content creator, youth development practitioner. I do have resources that can be used for youth engagement, mentorship, whether it is online or in person. My main website is tricara.biz, that's tricara.biz. It will lead you to my YouTube channel, Keep Encouraging Yourself, as well as ElijahsPrince.com, as well as KeepEncouragingYourself.com. Contact number 876-835-2465. Thank you.
All right. And of course, Ashley, we're going to bring you back on again. Trisha will arrange that because you have other foundations you can talk about. So, ladies, thank you guys so much for your time and for enlightening us with all the great things and stepping us, back in Saturdays. So, Trish, Ashley, you guys enjoy your evening. God bless you and eat some good food. All right.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye. Take care. Yes, folks, the Diaspora Junction. Yeah, we do these things all the time, make sure we bring people abreast of what's going on. All right. Keep it locked right here. 88.1 FM WESU in Middletown.